Hey everybody, so I had a fantastic January reading month. So many good books, and I read quite a bit. So I am here to tell you all about it. I am so excited. I cannot wait to get these books on your radar. So let's get going. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you all doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and of course I hope you're reading an amazing book or two or three or four. It is weirdly warm in Northern California right now. It's 80 something degrees in February, which it's never this warm this time of year. So the sun is out. It's a fantastic time to walk the dogs and go outside. And I've been reading so many good books. So today I'm here to share with you everything I read in January. And I'm going to be honest with you, it is quite a few books. I was very productive. And all of them are very, very good. So I cannot wait to tell you about them. So get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR. If you are so able, please order these books from your local independent bookstore. They are so in need of our support as always. Or if you are a library user, please get your library to get you a copy as soon as possible. The first sort of section of the books I'm going to read, I actually already talked about in my memoir project for 2022. So I'm going to go through them a little bit quickly because I want to make sure that this video is not too long. And if you want more details, please go check out my Memoir 2022 project video kickoff because I talk about them all in more detail there. So the first book I'm going to tell you about is These Precious Days by Ann Patchett. This is out now from Harper. This is a collection of essays that Ann Patchett put out last year, and it is absolutely wonderful. It is charming, it is thoughtful, it is emotional, it evokes such great feelings. I'll say my favorite essay, as far as the one that I think about the most, is actually the very first one where she talks about the three dads in her life, her biological father, her first stepfather, and her second stepfather, and sort of the different roles that they played and who she became as a person. I thought it was poignant. Coming from a divorced household myself, I realize the importance of parents that come into your lives at different times. And I really enjoyed that. She also has a very beautiful essay about helping her friend just at the start of the pandemic who was very ill and needed special treatment near her home, and how that whole dynamic worked, and helping your friend through that while everything in the world was going on. Lots of really good essays. Oh, by the way, I believe she reads the audiobook, which I also listen to, and she is wonderful. It's just a very good, wonderful collection of essays. So that's These Precious Days by Ann Patchett. The next book I'm going to tell you about is Childhood by Tove Ditlevsen. This is out, and I want to make sure I tell you who it's translated by. Hold on. Translated from the Danish by Tina Anomaly. And this is book one in a three-part memoir collection, Childhood, Youth, and Dependency. This one deals with her young childhood years. I would say this is, for a memoir, it reminded me a lot of reading Virginia Woolf. It sort of had that same sort of gravitas, that same sort of feeling to it. She deals with the emotions, she deals with self-worth, she deals with friendship, and she deals just sort of with the difficulty of being from a family, one of many children, all in a very small space, money issues. It's just so hard to explain. I thought it was brilliant. It is a bit dark. Her youth had a lot of ups and downs, and she had a lot of struggles with sort of self-image and self-worth. But it is almost like free-form poetry in a way. I hope that makes sense. I loved it. I have the second and the third one. I'm going to read them. Childhood by Tove Ditlevsen, translated from the Danish by Tina Anomaly, and this collection is out from FSG. They actually have a collection of all three of them together called the Copenhagen Trilogy, if you'd rather do that. The next one I read was The Cost of Living by Deborah Levy. This is out from Bloomsbury. This is actually the second of her three-part autobiography series, a working autobiography. This one deals with her at the ending of her marriage, her moving out and starting her home, a new life. It just deals with sort of like these everyday things that we sort of take for granted. But Deborah Levy does an amazing job of just sort of getting you in there, getting into the reality of life in a lot of ways. And she is just such a fantastic writer. I don't even know how to explain it. But I loved it. Recommended by Matthew Sharapa. Get well, Matthew. And I just thought it was really great. So I'm going to pick up the rest of them. The Cost of Living, Deborah Levy. Absolutely loved it. A book that I can't recommend enough, because I know that not a lot of people are talking about it, is this graphic novel, Wake, The Hidden History of Women-Led Slave Revolts by Rebecca Hall, illustrated by Hugo Martinez, out from Simon & Schuster. This is a sort of an academic graphic novel memoir, as Rebecca tries to put together the pieces of PhD work she's doing about women-led slave revolts, that she's finding these mentions of these women, but no details about their life. It deals with sort of this part of history and the erasure of women of color throughout history. And also it deals with sort of like the lack of sometimes just, how do I want to say this? The lack of sources when you're trying to prove a point when, you know, they've been wiped from history. It's frustrating, but it's also engaging and it's also rewarding. It's just really, really good. And I should show you the art just in case you want to get a peek. It's just very real. I just really, really loved it. So that's Wake, The Hidden History of Women-Led Slave Revolts by Rebecca Hall. The last memoir I'm going to tell you about is I Came All the Way to Meet You, Writing Myself Home by Jami Attenberg, out from Ecco. This is Jami's new memoir. It just came out this year, and it is just absolutely fantastic. I just describe this as a book of someone explaining about the difference between being alone and lonely, the difference utilizing creative work and art as a way to sort of find and center oneself when trying to figure out what life really has. She does a lot of discussion about, you know, she's from New York City and she lived there for a really long time, and finally moving to New Orleans and the decision and why she did that and how that made her feel. She talks about relationships, but she talks a lot about being a published author. Her first, I think, 3 books didn't do that well. What did that mean? Getting dropped by her publisher. And then her next book does very well, and how that changes and the dynamic of that world. All really well done. I Came All the Way to Meet You, Writing Myself Home by Jami Attenberg. Highly, highly recommend. So that section, again, if you want more detailed reviews or more detailed discussion, please check out my Memoir 2022 project video. I go into more detail on all of those books. Okay. Another project that I haven't done a kickoff video for, but I am working on, is I am going to be doing a queer, sort of an LGBTQAI+, sorry, I get those last letters mixed up sometimes, YA trip this year. So I just wanted, there's something about YA queer books that just sort of always resonate with me. They can be sad, but they can also just be really hopeful, and they just make me feel good in a lot of ways. And I just didn't read a lot of them last year. So I started reading 2 in January. The first was We Contain Multitudes, 2 Boys, Countless Letters, One Love Story by Sarah Henstra, and this is out from Little Brown. This book is actually told in letters between the 2 boys. One is, I believe he's a freshman in the high school, and the other is a senior, and it's a writing project where they have to write back and forth in English class to one another. And as the story goes along, they meet each other, their relationship changes, we learn about them, who they are. You know, the young boy is very eccentric and colorful and wonderful and deals with a lot of bullying. The other older boy is dealing with, he's a football player, but he's dealing with a lot of house and home issues. He's dealing with anger management issues, and it's sort of how their relationship continues to change. And you get to know their families, you get to know their past, but it's really about the 2 of them. I found it extremely lovely. And I love an epistolary novel, and I just thought it was done very, very well. So that's We Contain Multitudes, 2 Boys, Countless Love Stories. Sorry, 2 Boys, Countless Letters, One Love Story by Sarah Henstra, out from Little Brown. Okay, so the next book is Jay's Gay Agenda by Jason June. This is out from Harper Teen. I want to make sure I get Jason's pronouns right, and I don't know if it's in here. Oh, okay, so it says he. So I'm going to say use he. So I don't know how. So this is about a young boy who lives in a very, very small town where he believes himself to be the only gay boy. And he has never kissed a boy. He's never had a relationship. He's never sort of done any of those quintessential high school gay things. When his mom gets a promotion and winds up moving to a big city, Seattle, and he winds up going to another school where he is able to actually have a queer life. And he creates this agenda, things that he wants to do. And the agenda is constantly morphing and changing as he becomes used to being out and queer in a world where there are other out and queer people. He makes new friends, he finds boys, he has crushes, he talks about losing his virginity, all of those sort of young adult things that go on. I really enjoyed this book. I do think that the agenda, the list thing gets repeated a few too many times in the book and sort of took me out of the story sometimes, but I found all of the characters really engaging. I found them well-rounded. Some of the stuff that he wants to do is so stereotypical that it can almost become sort of, I don't want to use the word cringe, that's not it. It's just sort of like, really? But then you realize that those sort of beginning activities as a queer youth are there for a reason. We all experience them. And so it's sort of fun to just watch him grow up in this world. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun, nice, lovely read. And he's not perfect. He doesn't always come off as likable, but in the end, you know, I was rooting for him. So that's Jay's Gay Agenda by Jason June, out from Harper Teen. Okay. Next is another, gosh, I really read all over the place, and I know I'm talking quickly, but I really want to make sure I get through all of these books, and I don't want the video to be too long. This book was recommended by my friend Anne Kingman, who I believe still works for Pendant Random House, and she used to be part of Books on the Nightstand. I trust her so, so much. And then my friend Ryan of Ryan Reads, read by Ryan on Instagram, read it and recommended it. And that is The Anomaly by Herve Le Tellier. My French is terrible. Translated from the French by Adriana Hunter. And this is out actually from other books, which I had never heard of. But I guess this book is called The Book That Got France Through the Pandemic. And it won the big literary prize there in France as well. So basically this is the story. We're in an airplane with a bunch of different people. And that airplane lands. And these people go off. And we sort of get introduced to a bunch of different people who were on this airplane together. And then a few months later, this airplane lands again. And all of those people in duplicate are now in the world. And it is about that conundrum, those decisions, politically, sociologically, and, you know, all of that. And I don't even know. This book is so crazy. It is so crazy. But what happens is you're introduced to all these people and you don't really know where any of this is going. And then you find out that it's sort of about like different choices may have taken you in different directions in life. And at the start of it, there's a man who writes a book called The Anomaly and publishes it into the world. But and this is not a spoiler, it happens very early in the book, he takes his life, but the book sort of has a life of his own after he passes. And so it's sort of how that all will come together. I don't know if I actually did this book any justice. I flew through it. I probably read it in 2 days. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was weird. I thought it was totally out of the box. And I totally understand why an entire country would be absolutely infatuated with it. So that's The Anomaly by Herve Le Tellier, translated from the French by Adriana Hunter, out from other books. Okay, I'm going to tell you that I read probably the most powerful, I'm going to call it a novella, but it's more like a short story almost. But I thought this was the most brilliant thing that I had never, ever heard of. And once I closed the last page, it blew my mind. And that is Address Unknown by Kathrine Kressmann Taylor. And this is out from Ecco. And this is a reissue. This book originally came out, I want to say in the 30s, like the late 30s. So at the heart of this is another epistolary novel. It starts as letters between two men. They were partners at an art gallery here in the United States, and one of them returns home to Germany just prior to World War II and the rise of the Nazis. And when the short stories start, or when the book starts, they are partners, they're friends, they're like, there's this sort of discussion between them. But as the world is changing and war is coming, that conversation gets much more distanced and much darker. And as things happen, it just goes so bonkers. Like, it is so powerful because of the heartbreak of one, of you see the other one changing from the person he was to the person he's going to be, and how letters can affect people at this time. It's like, when letters were read because they wanted to be censored. Well, then once something was found about you, could it change your prospects in life? I don't want to ruin it because I just think that what this book does is so brilliant. But I'm telling you right now, when you turn the last page, your heart will stop. Okay. Address Unknown, Kathrine Kressmann Taylor, out from Ecco Books. It is brilliant. Probably, I'm going to call it a short story. I mean, it is literally 60-something pages long. One of the most brilliant things I've read in a very, very long time. And I can't believe I had never heard of it. I thought it was amazing. Amazing. Okay, another very short book I read was Assembly by Natasha Brown. This is out from Little Brown. I picked this book up because it was on a bunch of year-end top 10 lists that I was reading online, and I had seen it on Instagram a bunch, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to pick it up. And so this is the story of a sort of young Black British woman who is about to attend this lavish party at her boyfriend's parents' estate. And she is very successful. I believe she works in a bank, and she is dating a white man and is dealing with sort of entering to this other part of society, which still treats her differently because of her skin color. At the same time, she's dealing with some health stuff. And it's all sort of this internal monologue about all of this stuff that's going on and her dread at attending this thing. I thought this book was interesting. I mean, it's this big, so you read it really quickly. I liked it. I just don't know that I really left with much of an impression from it. And yeah, I don't even know really what to say about it. I thought it was fine. I think some people will really love it. If you like Jenny Olaf, or I even think maybe if you like Rachel Cusk, there can be affinity to this, but it was just not enough to stick with me, but I liked it. I didn't love it, but that's Assembly by Natasha Brown. I thought it was good, just didn't think it was great. Okay. 2 more books. Can you believe? I really did read so much in January. The Scapegoat by Sarah Davis was also on a ton of year-end lists. And this is out from FSG. And this is a mind-tripping book. I still don't know if I can tell you exactly what happened. We have this man who is employed at this university, and he's just weird. He's just weird. But he gets invited to go to this dinner for this visiting person, and this action changes sort of everything. And he becomes involved in this weird mystery about, I don't even know how to explain it. It is so hard to explain. This book is just, I mean, if I could say curse words, I would call it a mind something. But what I would just say is this book is for someone who wants to be in a literary world, taken on a literary mystery journey that turns and turns and turns. You know what it kind of reminded me of? If you were a fan of, oh my gosh, what is that book? The Third Hotel, is that what it's called? Okay. I can totally see the cover in my head. But yeah, that book, which does no good because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But it's like this weird literary mystery. You know what else it reminded me of? Paul Auster's The New York Trilogy. You know, like when you don't really know what's going on in any of those novellas and they all are sort of coming together. This book is like that. You don't really know what's going on. You don't know the motivation of the character. You don't realize what they're doing or what all the pieces are going to mean until the end. And then you're like, what did I just read? So The Scapegoat, I liked it. I don't understand it. I think it's really interesting. I will read more by Sarah Davis because I'm very fascinated with how her mind works. But yeah, this was a book that The Scapegoat. You should read it if you like to just be like, what? There you go. Last but not least was actually a book that was recommended to me by, read by Ryan's, gentleman caller. No, that's not what he calls them. Beau, I think he calls them. My other friend, Emily, calls her boyfriend a gentleman caller, who very rarely recommends me books, but he was talking about wanting to read the sequel and how good the first one was. So I picked it up, and that's A History of What Comes Next by Sylvain Neuvel. This is out from Tor.com. And this is like this weird alternate history. So basically, this takes place in sort of around World War II in the space race, like in that time period in America, where we meet this woman who is part of a long lineage of mother-daughters that have been basically throughout history, their goal is to eventually get humanity and themselves to space, okay? And it's through time, they have just been involved in all of this different stuff with this goal. They have like this history that they believe in that will get them, it's so hard to explain, but what their goal is to get home, to get to space. And you don't know quite, like, are they aliens? Are they from another planet? But you kind of understand that it's always one mother and one daughter, and then the daughter will have a child, and then eventually the mother will leave and not be there. And they do science experiments and they follow stuff, but they are being hunted by a group of men whose job is to take these women out so they don't succeed. But what this book is so brilliant and so hard to explain is that they are doing this all within the framework of the historical context of World War II, the space race, and all of that. It is so good. I don't even know if I have articulated it right. But I was flying through this thinking, where are we going? Where are we going? And Tor was nice enough to send me the sequel, so I cannot wait to get to it. I'm really interested. So it's like a sort of sci-fi, maybe alien, maybe space race, but also with this group of men who have all their life, their fathers have trained the sons to hunt these women through time because they believe they have to take them out to stop something from happening. But you don't really know what it all is in book one, but you want to know because it's just that well done. So that's A History of What Comes Next by Sylvain Neuvel. And yeah, I had a couple of reads this month, where I don't know that I really know exactly how to explain them. All I can say is that they were so good and powerful and page-turning, and I want to read more by these people. I hope that makes sense. And I'm trying to get all of these books into one pile for you, but it's quite a stack. So this, oh no, don't fall over. Okay, here we go. Here is my January reading. I think that is an accomplishment. That is quite a few books. But I hope I have convinced you to put all of these into your TBR. I am sorry, it's a little bit of a long video, but all of these books were so good. January was a fantastic reading month. If you've read any of them, please comment in the comments down below. Let's talk about them. They're all books that I would gladly discuss. If you are a return subscriber, know that I cannot do this without you. I really appreciate you. If you're new to my channel, I wish you happy. What was that? I thank you for coming along. I hope you subscribe, click the bell, do all of that. As always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everyone.